Something I've noticed in terms of commentary is that a lot of foreign commentators know every player in bracket, but American commentators tend to only know American players. Is this a big problem? How much research is necessary for good commentary? It's not true. What's funny is two things about that topic. One, I saw that tweet that was like, European commentators on the mic when an American's there. Oh, they play at this local. They play against this guy, this, and that, right? And they know them. Oh, and a foreign player, European player plays in a U.S. tournament. It's like, who is this guy? Who does he play? Wow, he's not bad. I saw that tweet. The funny thing is that who that tweet would be about, definitely never saw that tweet. There's no way they followed the right people to see the tweet because they, probably don't follow these Europeans. And second of all, I've heard European commentators on commentary be like, yeah, this player from this region, blah, 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 he probably plays with this guy all the time. And I'm like, that dude moved out of that region like 8 months ago and doesn't play there anymore or doesn't go to that event. Or I heard someone say like, oh yeah, I always see Chris T at Wednesday Night Fights all the time. He's there every week grinding. I'm like, bro, Chris T hasn't come to Wednesday Night Fights and I don't even know how long. He was there this week. But I'm like, bro, that's not how this works. It's not like the European commentators will have perfect recollection of every single player from another region or anything like that. It's just not true. It's like a generalization. Although there's more CPT Premier events in the US, so the US commentators are going to be commentating foreign players, but it's not necessarily the case. However, most of the time when I see tweets like that come up, it's about certain commentators in the US who are like hype commentators. Like if it's about like Lee Chung or if it's about like Yipes or something, like, yeah, I mean, both of them are hype commentators, especially Yipes' case. He commentates a lot of games. So it's not that surprising if there are gaps in like who he knows or something like that, because it's like, duh. You have to put the right people on to know about these different situations or in these different players, Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be as familiar, but their commentary is not supposed to be like, this player was playing in Gfinity and in week 4, he defeated Fnatic's very own. Like, that's not their commentary. That's not their style. I don't know every player from the US, and I don't think every European commentator will know. Thanks very much. How it feels to thank Carter Gray for dropping the 145. The one thing I've noticed about European commentators and maybe fans and what they ask for in commentary is like, it feels like European commentators always want it to be like super focused on the numbers and the technical side about the game. And a lot of the American commentators are more like hype focused and like they're just excitable and they're just like really loud and energetic a lot of the time. There's this clash in like what they expect and want from commentary and what probably Americans expect and want from commentary based on like our commentators. I'm an analytical commentator. Of course, I'm like, man, I wish more people did more studying. But also there's a difference in what the two communities want, I think. I don't think hype and informed are mutually exclusive. No, definitely not. But most of the hype commentators are not as informed, or like they do one job or the other usually. It depends, because I think that the American commentators, I don't know, they tend to be overall more hype guys and more focused on that kind of energy than analysis, and Europe's the reverse. It's why like most duos are like that, where they have one person who's like analytical and one person who's hype, and if they can both do both, then that's great. But there's definitely like, you hear European commentators talk about English commentators or streams, and they're definitely just like, that commentator didn't know that this is plus this and a plus that and this, blah, blah. There's definitely like, they feel like that kind of like, we are so knowledgeable, we know our shit so well, and I can respect that they feel that way. I can also respect that sometimes it is better on the mic to be excited and energetic and maybe not spend time talking about that, but instead talk about something else in the moment if it's better. I think sometimes some of the European commentators get too caught in the numbers and they don't deliver it in a way that's like very digestible. Sometimes you got to scream about fuck the Knicks and Mango Sentinel. You know what I mean? This is coming from an analytical guy. Sometimes it'd be like that. You know what would be great is if at Combo Breaker, Steven Rip instead were replaced by two people who are like, wow, actually, that was a really neat sidewalk left. He had 5 frames to go that way and then adjust the combo via this, because otherwise the sidewall would have not worked well on that. Shut the fuck up. I don't give a shit. I didn't need to be there. They didn't need to be a me there. There needed to be two people who are, just loving it and having great energy. And knowledge with that is obviously preferred, but not everybody can do both. Most of the time when I listen to commentary, I tend to think that like Tekken has the best commentary in fighting games. And I think that some of the other games that used to be strong feel a little weaker these days. The thing is about being knowledgeable is that even if you are a strong analyst, and even if you know a lot about the game, you still need to deliver it with energy. And also, especially in fighting games, you need to be able to deliver it in a condensed form. You can't take forever and drag on. Knowing how and when to deliver tight, like really sharp bits of analysis is way more important than knowing all the information but delivering it like shit. There are obviously people who are exceptions that can do both well, or who are like really good at their craft or whatever it is. So yeah, but I'm just saying as like a generalization for the region, those are the styles they tend to go towards. The one thing that about Tekken is that if Tekken had a very, 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 very good analytical commentator, it would go a long way in some scenarios, but like it's not currently, based on how things are going, it's not necessary. Now, like if a year or two down the line, if people still are like just loving Tekken and they don't need any like analysis, that's fine. But eventually I feel like there's going to be a high demand for whoever the best analytical commentator is. That's why I always get hired. You know what I mean? There's always they're always like, we need one fucking nerd who's going to show up on time, ready to go, and they're going to fucking know everything they need to know. I feel like T7 moves so quickly in the moment to be analytical. There's just too many options because 3D. I don't think so. I think you could have an analytical commentator. It's not just about knowing the game and knowing the different options. To do analysis like really, really well on a broadcast, I think what you have to do is know what both players want to do, know what both characters want to do, like be comfortable knowing their goals and objectives, and then be able to see the situation that based on what's happening on the screen and take that and make it a very tight, easy explanation of what's happening. So you have to understand the game from both players and both characters' perspectives, and also the like what's happening on the screen, and then relay that in a way that's like tight and easy to understand. Yeah, Steve can do a bit of analysis. I think that's like one thing about him that's really useful is that he can patch in whatever he needs his co-commentator to do. You know what I mean? He's not like the most analytical commentator, but he can get the job done. Like someone who's like a dedicated analyst does not really exist for Tekken. Mark does it a little bit, Eris does a little bit, Rib does it a bit. MYK and Rixta both are pretty good at it usually. But for the most part, the thing is most of the Tekken commentators are just like really, really solid. They know the game and the community, and they're very, very exciting. So like they just crush it. They're so good. All the Tekken commentators actually play the game. That's true. Yeah, that helps. That goes a long way. If MYK had vocal cord stamina, he'd be incredible. That's going to take time. Like, Mike's going to have to think about that and be like, okay, well, you know, I have commentary at this time and that time. I need to save my voice so that it's ready at this time and that time. Like, he needs to plan his events around commentary, which currently he's still a player, and his commentary he doesn't do it often enough to have to worry about that, you know? I feel like Aquaman is kind of in that phrase too, where he's like, he's now getting hired a lot. Mr. Aquaman's getting hired a lot. So he has to figure out how to like not lose his voice. Aquaman knows the game very well. If he could figure out how to perfect his delivery of information with his kind of like, not his full energy, but like his like 60% energy, he'd be a monster. He'd be so, so good. That's the one thing that if he could hit it perfectly, he'd be a beast. Like, he'd be so valuable, I think, for any broadcast with anybody. What do I think makes the other scene's commentary weaker in comparison to Tekken? Do I think the game has something to do with it? Tekken is a cheating-ass game in that the matches are always great. Tournaments are always exciting. Like, I feel like it's very rare that there's been a bad top 8. But to be fair, like, I've commentated things that are just horrible. And I feel like even the worst Street Fighter top 8 I've ever commentated in terms of excitement has been way better than any of the horrible shit that Steve and I have commentated that are way worse. When Steve and I used to do Naruto commentary at Wizard World, that was purgatory. I didn't realize it, but I woke up sometime many months later in a sweat thinking that Dragon Ball, that fucking Naruto had reset the bracket at Wizard World. Yeah, the thing about Tekken is that the commentators are they're awesome. All of them are great options. There's currently not really bad options for Tekken commentary, I think. They have the main rotation, which is Steve, Mark, Rip, and then Eris on the restream. But if he's there for the event, it's awesome. They have MYK and Rixta as your other options in the US that are like, you know, usually around playing a tournament or whatever. Then you have guys like Bloodhawk and Reno, also on the opposite side of the country, who are solid choices as well. Then you have in the UK, you have like Ryan Hart, who is super useful when you have him around and he's available to do it. And Spag and Bubsy. So you have like, it doesn't matter where you're tapping. And in Asia, you have Giuna and Obama's working on Tekken commentary over there too. So it doesn't matter, you know, what region you're in or like where you're at. Like there's available options that are very solid. And I'm down to listen to any of them, you know, at any time.